Welcome in, Irish fans. It is now Tuesday, September 26th. I guess that means it's Victory Tuesday. Also, what they like to call Hate Week. I'm going into Southern California this weekend, heading to LA to go get a win. But first, we got to break down the victory from Saturday night. Notre Dame versus Army in the Bronx. The Four Horsemen did ride again, and man, did it feel like the apocalypse for Army. Riley Leonard, 10 for 13, 148 yards, and 2 passing touchdowns. That's not something we've seen yet this season. On top of it, Steve Angeli was 4 for 5. You know, one of those passes from Leonard was a drop. It wasn't even his fault. All in all, he played the best game as a quarterback we have seen from him all season. You know, and I've continued to say, you know, that he's making good progression, and then he seems to have some setbacks. And I've got some concerns about things like running slant routes, and I didn't really see a lot of that from Leonard on Saturday. He played a complete game, absolutely focused, definitely the best game he's played all season. If we continue to see this kind of performance from Riley Leonard going into, well, first off, from Southern Cal this week, and then continuing into the postseason. Because if he does this against Southern Cal, Southern Cal doesn't stand a chance. And if he continues like this into the postseason, it will be a long drive towards the national championship. Especially given the teams that are sort of ranked out there at the back that we're likely to get paired with in what I anticipate would be a home game at this point, given all the teams that lost over the weekend. That's still mind-blowing and just kind of phenomenal what happened there. I'm not really going to unpack that. That's not what this show's about. But man, are things going to shake up tomorrow. And I expect Notre Dame will be number 4 or number 5. I think they should be number 4 in front of Penn State. I really do. Penn State hasn't done anything terribly impressive all season. They've had a lot of narrow victories against teams that really probably should have beaten them. And then they've got the loss to Ohio State, which, you know, I mean, is probably actually the most impressive thing that they've done this season, is not getting beaten the way that Ohio State beat IU. Now, I don't know if that's because they played that game at Penn State, or if that's just, you know, maybe they played harder against Ohio State than they played against some of these other teams. But Minnesota legitimately should have beaten that team. You know, I just got to say, Notre Dame looks better. And if that's one of the criteria that this playoff committee is using to decide where the teams are ranked, I'm taking Notre Dame at 4 over Penn State simply because of impressive wins against teams like Army. Now, I thought it was going to be a good win. I said 35-14 with another garbage time score. That's just what I expect. I expect the garbage time score to happen. Our second string defense is a second string defense. And while they're a very good, well-rounded defense, they make mistakes. And we saw that as they played out the final 4 or 5 minutes of the game. Our first string defense capitalizes on mistakes. And we saw that for the first 3.5 quarters of football. Now, I could give all kinds of accolades to the defense, but we don't need to do that. We know. We know what this defense is capable of. We know that this is probably the best defense in the country. I don't think anybody can argue that they're not top 5. It'd be a stretch to say that they're not top 3. I honestly think that they're number 1. I think that they can go ahead and prove that as time goes on this season, even with a hurt Howard Cross and now a hurt Kingston Valamu-Asa, which, you know, sad to say, he's out for this coming Saturday against Southern Cal with a sprained knee. Howard Cross is questionable as of right now. But even with all of that going on and a hurt Benjamin Morrison, this defense is very productive. The question mark will continue to be, can the offense get it done? Can our offensive line handle Southern Cal, who's played every team that they've played very close? And based on what we saw against Army, the answer would appear to be yes. Receiving, Jordan Faison, 1 touchdown. Jeremiah Love had a receiving touchdown and 2 rushing touchdowns. He had a phenomenal game. That young man is easily playing at the next level, and we've got him for another year. That should impress everybody. And, Jardarian Price and Aeneas Williams didn't look so shabby either. Jardarian Price scored a touchdown on a play where he should have been tackled in the backfield. The defender had him around the neck. And he managed to break the tackle and continue to put the effort forward to get himself or keep himself on his feet and get into the end zone. This team, Coach Freeman said play with violence. This team didn't just play with violence and aggressiveness. They played with blood in their mouth and a will to win. I've never seen a more aggressive Notre Dame football team in the many years that I've watched Notre Dame football. This team wants it. They're hungry for it. And they went out and proved it on Saturday by putting up 49 points against what was considered one of the best defenses in the country going into this game. I'm not going to say that they embarrassed Army, because I don't think they embarrassed Army. I don't think that that's an embarrassing score. I think that's a score indicative of the level of play that Notre Dame is capable of and that they want to perform at. That's the expectation. 49-14 was the expectation. We'll expect to see more of the same going forward. Biggest concern, I think we can all agree on this is the field goal unit. I don't know what's going on there. The kicks continue to be low, blockable. I don't know if they've got the distance or not. We need some help there. Do we need to go to the soccer team and find a walk-on? Do we need to have tryouts? I don't know. I mean, I know... I hate to say it, I know Mitch Jeter's hurt. He's been hurt all season. And he was great last year. He was 50% out from outside of 45 yards last year. This year, I don't know what his record is, but it's not great. So that's the thing that needs to be answered. That's the problem that needs to be addressed going into this week. And I don't really know what the solution is. I hate to say it. I'm just not a special teams analyst. We could probably watch a bunch of game film. I'm guessing that he's not getting the ball up off of the kick, that he's not getting, the upward trajectory of the ball when he kicks it. And I'm not a kicking coach. I don't know how to solve that. If anybody's ever seen me kick a ball, you'd know that that's not my specialty. It looks, it's America's Funniest Home Videos worthy. Maybe I'll make a video of it at some point for you guys. Anyway, that's all I've got for Notre Dame versus Army. Very impressive game. Gonna look really good on Saturday if we continue to keep this up. I will come back and talk with you more tomorrow about the Notre Dame Southern Cal game that we're getting ready to go into. And as my dad taught me, you never capitalize those letters and you never spell them all together going into this week. All right. Love y'all. Keep looking up. God bless. Go Irish. Beat Southern Cal.